And he's here. He is here. Cristiano has entered the building. Welcome, wherever you are, to the Old Trafford Theatre.
Yes, guys, welcome back to this SCULPTED Podcast. Today it is me, whilst I am doing a bit of house chores. Now, today we are listening to Jocko Willinks, I believe, who is, actually, I don't know too much about. I think he's got something to do with the American Army, I believe, maybe. Maybe he's a bit like David Goggins. But anyways, with that being said, we are listening to a short kind of clip from his podcast, I believe. And it's if you don't follow, you get more. So with that being said, let's get right into it.
This is the Jocko Underground Podcast, number 82, sitting with Echo Charles. Also me here. My name is Jocko Willink. Here's a question that I posed the other day. And as soon as I ask you this question, you're going to know the answer, and it's going to be one of those things where you go, yep. Here's the question. If you don't follow the rules, do you get more or less rules? Mm-hmm. And this is like another interpretation of discipline equals freedom. That's what it is. It's another interpretation of discipline equals freedom. But my original angle on it, on asking this question, came from not thinking about discipline equals freedom, but I was working with some people, working with a company. They have workers. The workers have a lot of freedom in this particular company. There's not a lot of supervision. People out there on their own doing their own thing, kind of. And some people take advantage of it. And they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing in some cases, but it's really hard to track. Maybe they take the extra long lunch break. Maybe they leave a little early. Maybe they show up late. Maybe they're not doing the procedures that they're supposed to be doing. And so guess what happens? Like these things start to show up. And then what does corporate start to do? Well, corporate then starts imposing rules. And then what happens? You know, there's like these days you can track people like in a multitude of ways. Technology. You can if you worked for me and we were a software company, I could monitor your activity on your computer all day and be like, hey, you were on your computer, you only were active on your keyboard for this many things, you only put in this many characters. There was an hour and 48 minutes in the afternoon where you didn't input any characters. What were you doing? Right? Yeah. What were you doing? Or what if you were law enforcement and now I'm tracking you with a GPS and I'm like, oh, from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 3:48, you were in this parking lot. In the back corner of this parking lot. What were you doing? How were you helping John Q. Public? Right? So I can start tracking you. Now I can start putting on rules. Yeah. And now how do you feel? Now you're getting frustrated, right? Now you feel like I'm watching you. You feel like I'm micromanaging you. And I am. Why is that? Well, it's because you were violating some stuff. So as I'm talking to this company, I asked that question to the workers, to the frontline troops. I said, let me ask you a question. If you don't follow the rules, do you get more or less rules? And you could see their faces kind of like, he's got a point there.
You do.
But here's the thing. Everyone knows the answer to that question. If you don't follow the rules, do you get more or less rules? The answer is, of course, you're going to get more rules. That's what's going to happen. And you've been experiencing this since you were a kid. When you were a kid and you broke a rule, you didn't get less rules, you got more rules. When you're a kid and your grades go down, you get more rules. You have mandatory homework time. You got study hall you have to go to. If you're causing problems at recess, you get more rules. So you're not allowed to go to recess. You got to sit here, write your name, I will not, push Freddie around the playground anymore. You got to write that on the board 1,000 times. You're going to get more rules. If you break more rules, you get more rules. Same thing as an employee or a team member. It's the same thing. If you break more rules, you get more rules. Actually, I told them about the Marine Corps. Now, I love the Marine Corps.
Yes, I do.
Marine Corps is freaking outstanding. If you go to a Marine Corps range, a lot of rules. They, hey, you will now lock and load 5 rounds in your weapon. Ready on the left, ready on the right. You will now fire 1 round at a time at your target at 40 meters. Stand by on the left, stand by on the right. Commence firing. Everyone fires 5 rounds. Cease fire, cease fire. You go to a SEAL range, there's just like no rules. Of course there's rules. Very limited rules.
Right.
Why is that? Well, in the Marine Corps, at some point, somebody shot, outside the field of fire. So they made a rule. Somebody shot too early. They made a rule. Somebody shot too late. They made a rule. Somebody went full auto when they weren't supposed to. They made a rule. Somebody snuck some rounds off the range when they were done. They made a rule. Somebody wasn't shooting the right targets. They made a rule. So they end up making all these rules. And you're getting control. That's what happens. You become less effective, actually. But why is that? It's because people broke the rules, and so they put more rules in place. If you're a human being, it's the same thing. If you break rules, or more commonly as just a human, if you don't have rules, you're going to get ruled. This is the discipline equals freedom. This is another angle on discipline equals freedom. That is why what we have to do as people is give ourselves rules. You have to give yourself rules to follow. You have to wake up. You have to wake up early in the morning. You have to work out. You got to take that cold shower. You got to get your work done for your job. You got to do that well. The better you do that, the more freedom you're going to get. Hey, if you're getting micromanaged at work, do better. If you feel like you don't have control over your own destiny, do better. You'll get more control. Be more productive. The more productive you are, the more freedom you're going to get at work. Guaranteed. It's guaranteed. Limit the amount, set some rules on the amount of time you're spending looking at a screen. Put rules on that. Otherwise, that screen's going to rule you. Put rules in place. Eat clean. What are you doing? Put some rules around what you're putting into your body. Put rules in place. If you're just doing whatever, you're going to have problems. The food is going to rule you. Go to bed on time. Go to sleep when you're supposed time to go to sleep. And if you follow these rules that you make for yourself, you're going to have less things in life ruling you. When you work hard enough, eventually you don't have a boss anymore. You're your own boss. When you make enough money, eventually that money's not on your mind anymore. It's not ruling your life. You're not worried about how you're going to afford the rent. The money's not ruling you anymore when you work hard. When you're healthy, you're not ruled by disease. You're not ruled by fatigue. If you rule yourself with discipline, you will end up with more rules, which will, in fact, give you freedom. So there you go. Those are my thoughts for the day. Another angle, same gig.
Yeah. All right. It's a good one, man. Mm-hmm. It's a good one. It's
the look on their face when I asked that question.
Yeah, so I really like that one. I haven't necessarily actually thought about that myself, to why rules create freedom. But when I think about it in my own life, I know that I work best under rules. And I used to think it was the German in me. But when I was in Germany, I realized that no, they're like they're a bit weird with the rules sometimes. But yeah, I think rules for me help with black and white. I am very black and white. So it's either I do it with 100% or I don't do it at all. And that's what rules are. And that gives you more freedom. And Jocko said it really well there. That's a part of the sculpted app, is your time limits, is your non-negotiables, is the things that you do every single day, the things that you pride yourself in. And I do think that, as he said there, with the rules you get more freedom. And it makes sense. The way he articulated it was spot on, I think. And when there's no grey area, you'll stick to it, because you can use grey areas as excuses. You can say, because, this isn't 100%, I can probably get away with it. And people look for excuses to get away with doing things or taking a shortcut. And what Jocko's saying there is, if it's black and white, then you're right or you're wrong. Like, it's either you do it or you don't. And if you do it when you're not meant to, then it's your fault and you've broken the rule. That's fine. Okay, just get back on and don't do it again. So having these rules just make it easier. The boundaries and the borders just make it more clear. Even if you do wrong by whatever, just knowing that you did wrong is better to know that, rather than leaving it up to grey area and there being fault in your rules. So I do like that quite a lot, actually, and I can probably implement that into my own life a bit more with more awareness now, because that's kind of bobbing true to my philosophy, and he's kind of put that in words there. So I hope that you guys also can understand that a bit more. I think that you have to understand it through experiencing it and living it, but I think that can definitely help a bit with a few things. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this one, and we'll see you in the next episode tomorrow.